these are all like valid points, but I was kind of just like, what was the fucking point of this article? Like, sorry, I'm a little pissed today because I've been reading too much stupid shit. Of Nuanced Nonsense. This is your host Alex.
Your other co-host Ben, and we have an interesting angle today. With our tripod, we have more access to different setups. This may not have been the optimal setup. We wanted a table, but figured that would be too much work clearing the table and making it look nice and presentable. So here we are on two separate couches.
Yeah.
Practicing social distancing.
Yeah. So if you're watching this episode, yeah, y'all are very much aware of the COVID-19 coronavirus crisis, where everything's on lockdown, and we are kind of shut off in our rooms, doing nothing, and staying safe at home. Which is why you might be asking, why are we next to each other right now? And trust us, we have been practicing social distancing. This is actually the first time I've seen a friend in person. Since we left for spring break, right?
Yeah, I've seen friends here and there to like go walk around and stuff like that, but generally I'm inside. Like I'm not doing much. Like my days generally consist of playing League of Legends and just like lazing around the house.
Yeah, so yeah, this is the only time I've been out of the house is like to go grocery shopping, but even that has been more strict. So yeah, I think honestly it's like I walked outside today to get to my car and then to drive, and I was like, it's pretty nice outside. I miss this, you know. I wonder when I don't know. When do you think things are gonna end? Like,
So I was talking to some of my friends last night, and he got to talk to like the dean and stuff because he's like high up in some org, and they were making like a very like tentative prediction that the stuff might like start to die down in August. And that means that like if it dies down in August, that means the next set of freshmen will be affected.
Yeah.
Like not only that, what is it? Like they'll cancel orientation.
Oh.
And then my friends started talking about like, if it wasn't for orientation, we would have never met each other, yada yada yada. But like that's besides the point. Just like imagining the freshmen having to go through that and like potentially not meeting, like having the chance to meet all these people is like wild. And I was like, Imagine starting freshman year with classes online.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it's like, so if it dies on in August, it'll just be like a week of August or 2 weeks of August, right?
No, like dying down. So like they think it might go through the entirety of August. It's just like tentative predictions because I was watching the news the other day and like the Surgeon General was talking about like Trump, how he wanted things to clear up by Easter, and he was talking about like, no, like it, like we don't run on our own timetable. Right now we're on the virus's timetable, so we can't make any hard promises or like deadlines or anything because like it's just not you shouldn't because like it's all up in the air.
I mean, if it could die down by August, that'd be a dream, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then like we would all be back in Austin. It is not. I heard some people say like all fall might be canceled.
Dude, that's wild.
But I don't know if you can do that, you know?
Like I don't know. Like I don't think they're gonna cancel a whole semester. Like even now they're not canceling the semester.
Oh, I meant things will still be online.
Yeah.
Yeah, I meant things will still be online. So I don't know. Like the thing is like I feel like there's two big narratives going on. There's one where we need to get everyone healthy, and one where we need to make sure the economy doesn't collapse, you know?
Okay, the economy is kind of fucked right now. However, this is like a temporary downslope.
For sure. I just think it's interesting though because like there's a lot of pushback when you talk about the economy. They're like, how can you be so heartless? We need to save lives right now. But then these same people are complaining about how like people are getting laid off their jobs, they can't pay rent, stuff like that. And like you do know that's part of the economy, right? Like that's an effect of the economy collapsing, you know? Yeah. So I don't know. I just think it's interesting because I feel like a lot of people's true selves are, it's kind of like, a real person, how real a person is, or their true self whenever like something bad has happened to them, or like there's a crisis going on, or whatever struggle they're going through, I'm kind of seeing it on Twitter. Twitter is kind of depressing. I'm actually considering just uninstalling Twitter, but then I will miss out on all the sports news. So I don't know.
I feel like Twitter and Reddit are just like places where people who like to be angry gather.
Oh, honestly, like people, some fuckers were just complaining about how like Cuba is a better country than the U.S.
Bruh.
And then like I was even talking to a friend, and he was like, I mean, they're not talking about all of Cuba. And I'm like, huh? So you subscribe to this thinking too, huh? Maybe we shouldn't talk anymore, because they're basically the gist is like Cuba has free healthcare, right? And like that would be really nice in this situation. And they're like, we're doing more for the coronavirus than the U.S. is. So basically, they're like trying to say that they're just talking about the healthcare system, but then you read more of their tweets and they're just like, Cuba's misunderstood. Let's stop criticizing Cuba, Cuba has done more for LGBTQ rights than the U.S. has. Stuff like that. And then it's almost like you're isolating specific like circumstances and you're trying to be like the whole is equal to the sum of its parts. So then you're like, therefore Cuba is better than the U.S. Or like the U.S. is the worst country in the world, And yeah, I don't know. It's like, and I also starting to read some stuff about how like people are like, there was like this like viral Reddit post about like this landlord, and like he's like, oh, all my tenants, I own an apartment with like 38 like units. So then all the tenants are like, we're not gonna pay rent because we got laid off. He's like, what do I do? This is my only source of income. I don't know if the Reddit post was true or not because like the account was only like a month old. But some people on Twitter were like, yeah, yes, like stand these tenants, like fuck this landlord. Like he leeches off their money and stuff like that. And I'm like, like owning property isn't just like, you're not just sitting there and doing nothing. Like you have to do maintenance, you have to do work. People are like, and then the people in the threads like, oh, well, the construction workers that live in the apartment will do my maintenance for free, so we don't need you. And the guy, this guy's a leech, And then just today I saw another tweet like, he goes under a philosophy comics. I don't know what the fuck I remember, but basically he's just like, it's like interest that's stealing money, renting that's stealing money. You're profiting off of the labor of stuff you don't do work at all whatsoever. I'm like, so you're literally sitting here saying that this stuff should be free, You're like, I'm entitled to all this stuff for free. And that's when I'm just like, honestly,
dude, this guy subscribes to the Communist Manifesto.
Dude, honestly, I follow a lot of people I disagree with. And, I was like, that's good. It's not good to be in the echo chamber. But I'm like, these people really piss me off, honestly. Like, part of it's like, I'm just sitting in my house doing nothing. But it's just like, I'm like, bruh, But this might be a popular sentiment because my friend was willing to defend Cuba. So
also, I was reading an article about this. Apparently, freezing rent is bad for the economy because it causes mortgage prices to shoot up, which in the end causes more loss of money.
Is it the mortgage prices shoot up because like they're not getting the money at the moment?
I don't know what the exact cause is. I only read like the first paragraph, but I like saw it and it was like backed up by an economist, and so I was like, I'm not sure if this is like true or not, but like it seems reasonable that like if you're not making any income on your property, that like the property value would go down and therefore the house value would go up.
Yeah, I mean I feel like those people at the same time people would be like, I don't want to invest in stocks because that's stealing, right? And I'm just like, you know what, man, you do you. Like they're the same time people would be like, I don't believe in connections because that's cheating,
That's cheating.
But I'm like, just shut the fuck up, okay? Just mind your own business, go jerk off to gay porn or whatever shit, and just leave the rest of us alone.
Okay, I'm gonna say this right now. If you don't believe in the concept of networking or like connections, then you like don't know how the real world works.
Yeah, I don't even know. It's just like, yeah, I'm just frustrated with Twitter, and that's why I'm considering just like unfollowing a bunch of people or just uninstalling it. I don't know. I need a break from that.
You need a cleanse, bro. It's because you're like consuming too much social media because you have nothing to do.
Yeah, probably. It's just like the news is so overwhelming, right? It's kind of funny. Like, if you read like any person's Twitter from a certain country, they're gonna be like, my government has been the worst at handling this. They haven't taken this seriously at all. And then you mention some other country. And I'm just like, nah, I'm the real victim. It's kind of like, the idea of American exceptionalism where, like, we think, like, we're the special country and we're the best. Well, I think it's kind of ironic now because now, like, when we kind of pair these claims like Cuba's better than us, or like we've messed up in so many ways, which we have handled this crisis terribly. I'm not denying that, but I think that's a form of American exceptionalism. You know, like when you think that like you have it worse than like fucking kids in like Africa, or you're fucking having it worse than like Cuba or North America, like I don't know, maybe you should calm down. You know,
like another thing is, you mentioned this earlier, is like LGBTQ rights and like civil rights generally.
Yeah. Is
that like America is one of the few, like the United States of America is like one of the few countries in the world that is like predominantly like multi-ethnic.
Yeah, like most other countries are primarily homogeneous.
Like they don't even have a concept of like racism because there's no one to be racist to.
Yeah.
Because everyone is the same.
I mean, the only thing times they're racist when they laugh at some guy in the distance. Like they don't even see that like they don't see like those people as people because they don't interact with those people, right? But like, so they're not gonna have any problems like being like, yeah, like we're okay with the idea of someone different because you don't have to interact with someone different from you.
Yeah, like they haven't even made one step towards like civil rights or like LGBTQ rights. Like the United States of America has the highest like amount of like activism towards that.
Perhaps
simply because like we're the most multi-ethnic like country.
Yeah.
Like just that, like just having that alone, just having different types of people like breeds that, right? I'm not saying it's bad. It's like very good. It like produces the most amount of change, right? If the civil rights movement hasn't really happened in many other countries, besides like it started like primarily with in India, right?
The civil rights movement?
Yeah.
I mean, I know like the
Gandhi, right?
I know. Honestly, I just remember like he was like I know Martin Luther King was inspired by Gandhi.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. I mean, I know we're not the highest rated like country in terms of like LGBTQ rights, and like there's like various other countries in like Eastern Europe who do much better than us.
But I feel like generally.
But like, we're not the worst. Like you can
by far.
You can be gay and live here from what I remember. From what I observed, but I don't know.
You're not gonna get like prosecuted or like hunted down.
Yeah.
Like this is not the Middle East.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think what's crazy is that like by us talking about this on the podcast, we might be labeled as like conservative like podcast hosts now or something
maybe.
like that.
This is a little radical.
Yeah, but all I'm trying to say is that we're better than Cuba, okay? That's the only problem. Like, if you want to say how, like, Denmark has handled this crisis better than the U.S., I'm perfectly fine with that. You know? I might even agree with it. But I just have a problem when you're comparing us to Cuba and North Korea. Like, just shut the fuck up, okay? Like you're not homeless right now. So, it's like, I don't know. It's, like, kind of interesting because, like, how much, do you know how much of the U.S., like, lives paycheck to paycheck? Like, it's a genuine question.
I fucking heard about this before. I know it's like a larger percentage than you would expect.
Yeah.
Like it's a pretty like big percentage. Because a lot of like the like American ideal is that you don't like really care too much about saving. It's like in the moment. And like that mentality sort of like undulates like throughout most of the general populace.
Yeah.
Like, so, like, it's understandable how a lot of the population does that. But I don't know what percentage exactly. But I know I heard it one time because someone told me. And it was, like, pretty, like, staggeringly high.
Yeah.
Wait, why? What were you gonna...
Well, because, like, I guess something, like, you hear and read a lot about how people are struggling a lot in this crisis, right? And I don't know. I guess, like, literally what you said, like, the amount of people saying this is more than I expect. But... it's kind of like how we talked about in like earlier podcasts or even between ourselves, just like the whole concept of like the rich, you know, like rich people love to pretend that they're poor because they want to show that they've earned everything they have, you know? Like they want to downplay their wealth, right? And like sometimes like poor people, like they want to make it appear that they're more wealthy than they really are, you know? Because like they don't like the shame of it, right? And there's people in the middle class who do both basically. So it kind of made me wonder, like, how many of these people are really going through what they're saying they're going through, you know? I don't know, like, that sounds really bad, I know, but it's just, like, I don't want to say I'm skeptical, but it's just, like, I remember seeing some tweet about, like, this is a middle-class house, and it was a big house, but, like, and then all the people were like, this is a rich house, and they're just saying I'm poor. And then some people are just like, you might be poor, or you might live in New York and this person lives in fucking Montana. Like, who knows, you know?
Yeah.
But it's like, I feel like we as people, like, I don't know if we have a good concept of money, you know? Like,
yes.
I don't know if, like, honestly, it depends on what label you put on yourselves, right? But it's like, I remember reading this New York Times article written by, like, a Facebook friend. And he went to, like, NYU, basically. And basically, the whole point of his article was, like, NYU's expensive. I'm broke. And I'm poor. And my friend group has ostracized me because my credit card got declined. And this is America's fault because I thought I made it by going to NYU. But in reality, I'm still a nobody. They haven't accepted me. Because he's like half Mexican, half like Chinese or something. And these are all like valid points, but I was kind of just like, what was the fucking point of this article? Like sorry, I'm a little pissed today because I've been reading too much stupid shit. But basically, I was kind of just like, the New York Times has declined.
He read that entire article, and he was like waiting for the punchline. And he's like, what's the point?
Yes, I thought he was going to add, like, everyone fucking knows NYU's expensive. Everyone fucking knows college is expensive. And, I don't know. When I got into college, I definitely didn't think I made it into society. Did you think you made it into society?
I think our views on college were different. Like, I think, like, for us, like, that was, like, our first step towards getting into society.
Yeah, but I didn't think I made it into society. I definitely thought I was like, oh, this is, like, you know, my dreamy, romantic view of college was like, I'm going to have so much fun, and it will be a 4-year buffer before I get into society.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, but, we talked about that before in other episodes, but, you know, I definitely didn't think I made it into society, you know? So I was just like, the whole article just sounded naive, and then it's like, I'm real now, you know? I eat ramen in my apartment, like, I'm a broke college kid. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, man, but literally every fucking college student says that about themselves. You know?
Like, I don't know if adhering to a stereotype makes you more or less real.
Yeah.
Like, for example, whenever I see, like, on my Facebook feed or, like, Instagram feed, like, a sorority girl post, like, oh, I never thought I'd be a sorority girl. Like, adhering to the stereotype doesn't make you special.
Yeah. And, like, maybe these become cliches because they're true, right? Maybe, like, they repeat it so often because, like, it's a common experience, right? But, like, I just want you to know that, like, if you think that you're coming off as genuine, like, you're not, you know? So, yeah, just reading that, like, made me think of this, like, there's, like, this trope called Seinfeld is bad, right?
Seinfeld is bad.
And basically the whole point of the trope is that Seinfeld is, like, a critically acclaimed comedy TV shows. It's, like, considered to be written by one of the greatest comedians of all time, Jerry Seinfeld, and it was one of the greatest sitcoms, right? I haven't personally watched it, but that's like a reputation it has. And you know, there's always those people who are like you have something that's critically acclaimed, like
a lot of people are like, if X thing is mainstream, it is bad.
Yeah, so basically they're kind of like Seinfeld is bad, you know, like all these cliche, like it's just so cliche, it's overdone, like I don't like it, right? But the irony is it started all those cliches, and it was so good that every TV show had to copy it. So that when you go back and watch it, you're like, oh, what's so special about this? When it's the reason why it's done, right?
Yeah, it's the original.
And then that's kind of what I was thinking about when I was reading this New York Times article. It's like, I'm sure like he means this stuff and it's very true, but it's like, maybe it's just ironic because there's so many people. It's like maybe it's like the boy who cried wolf. There's so many people complain about how like they're broke in college and stuff like that. That like, I just don't take it seriously anymore, you know. And maybe it's because like I'm just kind of fed up of like sometimes I feel like I'm just like trying to live my life peacefully, and like I live in my 2x2. We live in a 2x2 and we have our own rooms this big, and we're from Plano. And the people are kind of, oh, you're from Plano, you know, like, oh, like you have this, like, oh, things are provided to you, like you didn't work for every single like step of your life. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I guess, but like, what do you want me to do about that? You know?
Yeah.
Like, I guess like something I've like learned a lot in like life is that like, no one really gets to like a certain position all by themselves, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the help of friends, you have the help of your parents who like either worked hard to get to a certain position, and you just make the most of the cards that are dealt with you, right? Like, I'm not trying to say that like life is a meritocracy, but it's like the opposite. I'm trying to say that, like, everyone is like helped by in some way. Some people are helped less than others. Some people are helped more than others. But it's like, I think what I'm seeing right now, like, I'm tying this back to what the beginning is like. I feel like a lot of people are like kind of entitled, you know, like including us. But I think especially for these broke people on Twitter, I feel like they feel like I'm entitled to like these privileges, right? When they are just privileges that people are lucky to get, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think maybe that's a little ironic because like they kind of have this answer like, you know, like, I failed so much in life and I deserve to succeed, you know? Like they want to pin themselves as underdogs when like maybe you just whine a lot, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So I think what I'm seeing a lot is like what's frustrating me is just like it's unfortunate that things have turned out this way, but it's like you know, it's like Parasite, you know, when like the two poor people, instead of working together to like solve a problem against like the wealthy, they just
fight each other.
They're just tearing each other down as they look down on the wealthy, right?
Yeah.
And it's like no, everyone loses in the end.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what I see in this situation, where to me it feels like we're all just complaining about stuff and we're just mad, you know, but man, we can never really move on.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. Like, as I said earlier, I really do believe that like Twitter and Reddit are like places where angry people like to congregate. Because like the thing is, if you post like an angry response or just like complain about something, sure, you can get someone canceled, maybe you can get like some movement started, but the end result of a lot of things that happen from your complaining is absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you solve nothing. You you provide only problems, no solutions. Like, that's something I learned, like, back when I was in, like, high school. Like, why I was a bad teammate to work with is because I would always provide problems and never solutions. And, like, one of the things, like, for teamwork is that, like, every person, like, builds a framework to allow everyone else to succeed, right? But if you keep trying to tear down this collective framework, then you don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
And, like, that's how I see it. Like, they're just, like, tearing, like, for example, recently, or semi-recently, there was this Corona thing where a bunch of celebrities, like, this was, like, done by Gal Gadot. She made this Instagram video of all these celebrities singing and basically trying to, like, just, like, boost everyone's morale about coronavirus. And basically the general response is just like, oh, look at you rich people, just, like, lavishing in your houses. Like, they tear down a good thing because they just want to be mad. Like, they can't even see what something is at its face value. They have to, like, go hammer down at its core and go, like, oh, this is bad. Yeah,
they're like, basically the gist is, like, why aren't you providing money for the people, right? But here's the funny part. When you do provide money, they're like, why aren't you providing more money, you know?
Yeah.
Like, the NBA is, like, some NBA players are like, okay, we're going to donate, like,
X amount
$300,000. Like, why aren't you donating $1 million? Like, I mean, A, does $1 million need to be provided, you know? And B, is that your money? And they're like, well, I'm donating... like, this X amount of money is, like, worth, proportionally is, like, less, is worth less of, like, their assets than, like, me donating something, right? Like, if I donated, like, they're basically trying to, I donated $300, that's worth a lot more of my, like, my assets than, like a rich NBA player donating $100,000. Therefore, they need to donate more, right? But at the end of the day, is, like, you're not entitled to their money, you know? Like, they don't have to donate. They don't have to donate to help these part-time workers, right?
Yeah.
Like, technically, the ownership of the team should be, like, helping donate for the staff, like, for part-time workers that work in the arena.
NBA players, like, don't get money while they're not playing.
Yeah.
Like, they are also employees. Like,
that's also
it's the
something
owners
too.
that should be donating.
Like, the NBA players don't even know if they're getting money, you know? But, like, they're still donating. So you should be grateful for that, right? And some people are, but some people are just complaining, right? And then even for the owners, is like, it's messed up that, like, they aren't, like, a lot of them are trying to be cheap, you know, and, like, that's why, I mean, honestly, that's why they're rich, but
yeah,
they don't want to pay, like, their employees either, right? But at the same time, is like, I mean, technically, you're not really entitled to their money either, you know? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can argue that they're stealing, that they got to where they are by, like, stealing from other people, and I don't disagree with that, but it's like, it is what it is, you know? Like, I think at the end of the day, it's like there's a reason why there's a lot of streets named after MLK Day, there's MLK and like Martin Luther King, and there's like holidays named after him, but nobody wants to name a street after Malcolm X, and that's because he was not the nicest man. You know,
he was also really radical.
Yeah, and like even though like Martin Luther King wasn't like, I don't know, like apparently he cheated on his wife and stuff, and like he had his flaws. His philosophy was like, let's just be nice to everyone, and that's what people want. That's what will stick, you know.
Yeah. So
I think it's like being patient and like, I don't know. I think like advocating for like your rights is definitely necessary, but like if all you're gonna do is like sling like insults and threats like toward like everybody, you know, even the people who are trying to help you, like you're not gonna leave a positive impression, you know. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I agree totally.
Like, I don't know. Like, part of me is like, when I was young, I thought that's what being an adult was, like handling situations maturely. But I guess as you get older, you realize like that's not really an adult thing. That's just that's a philosophy and personality thing. Yeah.
Like as you said, Malcolm X and MLK, they had equal influence at that time.
Yeah, and they were advocating for the same end result.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of like methodology.
Yeah. So, I think that, yeah, honestly, I think that's one thing that's been really frustrating this situation is just like all these unhappy tweets and like posts are just like how things have been messed up. Like I'm frustrated too that, you know, the Trump administration like didn't take this situation seriously and we don't have enough tests and now we're stuck in our houses for like, or in our apartments for like 9 months. But like, I mean, how can we channel that energy into something more positive?
Yeah.
Know? It's like
I think there's so many, like, proportionally there's more movements trying to cancel someone than more movements trying to like build something up. Like I remember when Mr. Beast did the 10 million trees thing.
Yeah. Like
the reason he did that is because like our generation is literally known for retweet activism, which is basically not activism at all.
Yeah. Like
canceling someone, it's like a momentary reprieve, but it doesn't like tackle a solution at its core. Mm-hmm. Because like if all you do is just tweet about it, there's no physical thing being done to like fix the problem. Like you're not pushing forward any, like you're not litigating anything. Like you're not like trying to change anyone's life. Yes, you cancel someone, it will only like momentarily like cause a dip in their career. Yeah. Like most of the time people who get canceled bounce back. Yeah.
And I think that's what like I remember like there's like a Dave Chappelle special where he was kind of like he's kind of just talking with people. It was like a couple years ago. It was released on Netflix a couple years ago. But he was kind of just talking about how like the Me Too movement, and he was like, I don't disagree with what y'all are saying. Like, I have a daughter, and he's like, I hope y'all win because like I want a better world for her, right? But it's like I don't know if y'all are going about this the right way because like the moment like they're not scared of you anymore, like it'll be worse, you know? Yeah. It's also just like people want to help, you know, but you're gonna have a lot of imperfect allies. Like he was making a joke like Ben Affleck was like, yeah, like what is happening to these women should be stopped. And then people are like, you grabbed a titty in 95, so shut the fuck up. And he's just like, yeah, I'm out of here, you know. He's just like, it's just like, no one's perfect, you know. And you're going to be like, well, he did this and that, it's unacceptable, right? But it's like, it's funny because it's like, I feel like a lot of people are against the death penalty, but it's like, the way they treat people is like, they may as well just be dead, you know, because they can never outlive that mistake, you know. It's almost kind of like the term like forgive but not forget, you know. And I'll say thinking about it, but it's like maybe forgiveness is forgetting, you know, because it sounds like if you don't forget, you're still holding it against them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I agree as well. Like, I think a lot. This is a lot of echo chamber today, but like, it's like what happened with Kobe. Like how people are like, oh, why are we like honoring him? Because like of this scandal. Uh-huh. It's like yes, you should take someone's legacy in their whole, right? But like if something is generally meant as like a positive note for a lot of people, like a lot of people looked up to Kobe, right? And if that's what drives them forward, that's what motivates them. Like who are you to say that like that should not motivate them? Mm-hmm. Like, if it motivates them, right? Intrinsic motivation is actually really hard to find. Like, I don't know if a lot of people know that, but, like, it is very difficult to obtain. Yeah. Like, just generally, across all people. Like, I don't care, like, if you are motivated now. It's like, it is very hard to obtain. And that's why like a lot of fictional shows talk about like revenge, and it's like the characters weren't motivated before that revenge to do much, and then it's like something happens and they want to get revenge, and they're super intrinsically motivated, because like intrinsic motivation by its nature is hard to obtain. So you can't just like tear down stuff that like people like see up. Like, yes, you should like point it out, right? But you shouldn't like go about like tearing things down. Like a lot of what Twitter and Reddit feels like to me is like very destructive. But since destruction is way easier than construction, like it just feels like everyone, it's just you're constantly taking steps back.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, yeah. So I guess like kind of wrapping up this part of social media, part of this discussion on coronavirus and like social media, it's just like, just chill, you know? Like, maybe it's ironic that like we're kind of, at least I'm talking about kind of heatedly in this podcast, like, just like, what's wrong with these people, you know? like, yeah, like, I don't think what they're saying is wrong. And like, it's great that Cuba is like, maybe like, they've been a little more progressive in LGBTQ rights, or they've been more progressive in the healthcare, right? Like, those are good things for sure. But it's like, I feel like you're seeing that you're getting lost in the, like you're focusing on the tree, and you're forgetting that there's a forest behind you, you know?
Yes.
It's
like another thing that I watched Philip DeFranco, and one of the things that like I think that he doesn't intentionally do this, but a lot of statistics that he puts up about the coronavirus are like intentionally misleading. Like, for example, he was talking about unemployment, and it was like, he's like, this is the most amount of people who filed for unemployment since like 1960 or something, right?
Yeah.
Back then, or like even since like the Great Depression, right? But like, you got to think about this proportionally. Like, proportionally to the total population, whatever amount of people like filed for unemployment during then was more.
Yeah.
Because like our population is just like exponentially grown since then.
Yeah.
And so like this number is huge, right? But proportionally, it's not as big as then. Like, that's why it was called Great Depression, not just like a depression.
Yeah.
Like, this was like a global scale. Like, whatever's happening right now, yes, it's a global scale, but it's not to the same level.
Yeah, I mean, on the silver linings that like we know why we're entering this depression, right? Because in the Great Depression, like they didn't really know how to get out of it. Like, I'm not gonna pretend that I'm a history expert. I can't recall all the factors as to why there was like what caused the Great Depression to be to last the way it did. Like the only time that depression lasted like for the greater part of like the 30s basically. And then they only got out of it because they went to war, you know?
Yeah.
Like, for us, it's like, we might enter depression if everything is shut down. But it's because people aren't spending. So, like, once we beat the virus, you know, money will come back, and then the depression won't last as long, you know? So, I think in some ways, it's just, like, there's, like, reason for optimism. And it's actually kind of funny, because, like, before, like, last semester, I remember people were like, yeah, we might be in the recession because like the bubble might collapse, you know, or the stock market might collapse. Like we don't know, you know. But then they're like, oh, maybe things will get better. But in the end, we ended up in like a potential recession, depression. So yeah, it's kind of funny how things kind of speak themselves into existence.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of panic and worry, which is, some of it is rightfully placed, right? Like, the way that this is spreading in the US is kind of like very rapid. Yeah. And like one thing I saw on like social media was like, this is a slightly like, not even slightly, this is a radical opinion, but I think it is okay to test like celebrities and like NBA players first. Yeah. It's not because they're privileged, but it's because they come into contact with more people than like a normal person would. And if they have it, the potential for spread is so much higher. Yeah. Like when Rudy Gobert like got tested positive, like think about how many people he could have interacted with versus like you, who like just watches NBA, maybe like interacts with like in a day, maybe like 10 people. Like Rudy Gobert is like interacting with people in the magnitudes of thousands. Yeah. Like and then like other NBA players too. Like I don't think it's like absurd to be testing them first. Like it makes sense in the public health standpoint. Like you are serving the greatest good that way. It may seem like they're getting it first because they're privileged, which I guess it is a privilege of having fame, right? Yeah. But at the same time, like I feel like people are getting lost in like the really small details, like you said earlier.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, this person makes a lot of money. They get the test first. What about us? You know, we make way less money, but like you interact with way less people.
Yeah.
Like the most you could spread it to is your friends and family, right? You don't have general interaction with like a lot of strangers, no matter what your job is. Like you could like infect your whole floor if you work at like a company, right? Dude, these people can affect the whole arena of fans.
For sure.
Like
they're,
the
getting
magnitude
autographs and stuff
is
like
like
that.
difference by like 100-fold.
Yeah. I remember reading that argument too on Reddit and Twitter. People were like mad. And like I understood like it does suck. Like I remember like the day we left to go back home, I saw the construction workers still working, and I was like, dang, like that really sucks.
Yeah.
That like they still have to work while we have the privilege of like being able to work at home. And even like the people in retail, like I guess they don't have income, right? But like because they can't work in stores per se, at least at that moment. But if you're in like a non-essential business, but like for these construction workers, like no one even cares if like they get sick or not. Like you have to like do all this work that you may die in, you know. And like I think that's the real shame because they actually don't have a voice, you know.
Because like before even coronavirus, they're already at risk.
Yeah.
Like getting dust in your lungs already puts you at like such a high risk factor for like lung disease.
Yeah, and then like to me, I feel like that's like the real underbelly of society, like blue collar workers, and like no one cares about them, you know. Like people still look down on them, or they still think like you're the reason why Trump got elected, you know, stuff like that. But like I think that's like the real sad part in this whole situation. Like I think that is like a pretty valid case when. I mean, not that other cases aren't valid, but I feel like that is a pretty like scenario where like I do feel sympathy, like, you know, they don't have access to these tests, right? But at the same time, it's like just because this person's rich and privileged doesn't mean he deserves to go to hell, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like, yeah, like I do remember reading that argument about like they interact with so many people, which I think is true. But then other people are saying like the virus is so contagious that like if you're just around someone with the virus, like you're screwed basically.
I know, but that's exactly what I'm saying. It's even more essential that like people who interact with these, like if you're just around someone, that means if you're in the stadium watching this person play, you can get it.
Yeah.
Like, is that not more worrisome than like you just being in like your house or like your workplace? Like the amount of people that an NBA player can infect is like more than you interact with in your lifetime.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think that argument is like valid in my mind. Like I don't know. I mean, there might be counter arguments, but I think it's true. I think the main thing for me is like, I'm not gonna blame them for like wanting to test all their employees and like players. Like yes, maybe like the Utah Jazz use up like 60% of Oklahoma's tests at the time, but like, why are you mad at the Utah Jazz for like trying to care for their employees? Like if your company could do that for you, would you really be like, no, like fuck you for doing that? You know, you use up half of the state's tests. You'd be like, oh, I'm so grateful and lucky that like my team could like provide this for me. You know, like instead you should just be like, you know, why the fuck do we not have more tests? You know, like I think it's like that's a more valid complaint and concern than just being like, hey, you spent the money. You know, like if you worked hard and you got money, why would you not want to help benefit your friends and family for that, you know? Like I think that's like a super valid action to do, you know? Like when people like dislike the idea of connections is like, do you not have any friends like who would be willing to do that for you? Would you consider that a connection or like that's helped you, you know? It's like I don't know if I'm not making sense, but basically like what I'm trying to say is like it's pretty normal to want to do favors for your friends or like not be as formal around your friends because they're your friends, you know? Like you can let your hair down, like you can be your true self around them, you know? Like you want to help those people. So like I think in this case it makes sense why. Like I don't blame the Utah Jazz for using 60% of the tests. I just think it's sad that like we don't have that many tests, but I don't think you should be mad at them for using those tests, you know?
I agree.
Like regardless of like I think regardless of how many people they interact with, it's like, I don't think people you dislike should go to hell because you dislike them because of a perceived like inequality, you know? Like, like even to these people who are complaining on Twitter, like honestly, like I really don't like them, you know. But I'm not gonna be like, you know, I hope you get coronavirus and die, which is kind of what I feel like I'm reading when I'm reading into this stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's just like,
that's the implication.
yeah, they're just so angry and upset. But yeah.
Yeah, like I don't know. It's just wild to me.
Yeah. I know like there's an irony in complaining about people complaining, but you know, maybe just think about like why are we doing this? Like it's just like just calm down.
Yeah.
But I guess on a more personal note, kind of like, yeah, what are like your plans for like, you know, now, like since the coronavirus happened, like how are you planning on doing school? Are you trying to go back to Austin? Like what have you been thinking about during this virus outside of social media?
When I first got back to Plano, I know I originally wanted to go back to Austin this coming week, but then like now seeing the situation progress and it's like they're in shelter and then we're in shelter, like I don't know if going back's the best idea, but I know I want to go back at some point simply because I'm not productive at home.
Yeah.
Like I feel like I let my guard down a lot at home.
Like it's too comfortable here.
It's too comfortable. Like
sure.
it feels like just nowhere is nice to do work. Like honestly, it would be very similar in Austin, but I feel like at least there's like a sort of like air of productivity in Austin because like I go to school there.
Yeah.
And so like it feels like there's an academic like undertone. So I feel like I know I would be more productive there.
Yeah, yeah.
And so like that's the hope at some point I can return to Austin. But like any long-term plans, I canceled them all. I'm just like putting everything, just like playing it close to the chest right now.
Yeah. I feel I'm probably gonna stay here in Plano. I just don't really see the point in going home. I mean, not home, going to Austin. Mainly because
home away from home.
My home away from home. Mainly just cause like everything's closed. Like you're not really expected to hang out with your friends anyway. I mean, I know like we're technically hanging out right now, but it's like honestly, like me as a person, I'm not that close with that many people to actually like go to their apartments and hang out.
Also, just so you know, this is not a hangout. This is a work session.
It's a work session.
We're doing work.
Yeah, it's essential business, you know. So to all the haters out there. But yeah, I honestly just feel like I just thought about like this is something I really did think about last week when I was upset because I was just kind of like seniors been taken away from us. Like we couldn't even say goodbye to our friends, you know, like. I won't be able to have these memories or do these same experiences that other classes have. That's so unfair. But then I was kind of thinking about, I was like, why are we sentimental, right? Like, I think sentimentality is not a bad thing. Like, I like it. But it's just like, there's a reason behind, like, why these memories are precious, right? Mm-hmm. And it's because, like, it's like the little interactions you had, like, the hangouts you had back then. That's what makes that last goodbye so special, right? And honestly, I was like, I'm not even, like, being, like, emo. Or like not even trying to be like woe is me, but like I'm honestly like not that close to that many people. Like part of it's like personality, part of it's just unlucky circumstance. But like honestly, like if I went back to Austin, everyone went back to Austin, like I wouldn't be like that close with that many people to actually just like have a last goodbye without the pretense of like a meal or boba or going somewhere, you know. So that's when I was like, honestly, I think it's just better if I just message people, you know?
Wait, so how did you feel about when graduation was, like, canceled?
Well, it's postponed, not canceled.
Okay, it's basically canceled. There's going to be less than half of the people there because, like, some people are going to work and bullshit other stuff.
That's true. I mean, the idea of graduating being canceled was one of the main reasons why I was upset. Because I wanted the pictures at least, right? Mm-hmm. Part of me is like, it feels kind of weird to be like, I want to do pictures like as a guy, but it's like, oh, my bad. But like, I think pictures are like when I'm old, I want to be able to look back at it, you know? Like something I kind of regretted is like in high school was like, I didn't take that many pictures with my friends. Like only pictures I had were people like, I was just like acquainted with, you know? Like my closest friends, like I didn't have that many pictures of them. And like, that means a lot to me now because like at least like those one or two guys I wanted to actually have a photo with is like those are the only people like I feel like I'm still friends with like post high school, you know. So I think that's what I regret, and that's kind of like I wanted to make up for that in college, you know. But like now that opportunity's not there. But I feel like I have faith that a lot of people will come back for graduation later on because I feel like work will be pretty understanding. Mm-hmm. or I feel like people would be pretty understanding of like letting you come back, right? Maybe not everyone will come back, but
for the most part,
I feel like for the most part, like you would still come back for graduation.
100%.
Yeah, like I'm willing to take a day off of work to come back for graduation, or take a sick day. Like I'm sure my company would understand, you know. Yeah.
Like not only that, I feel like this is a really troll moment in an anime I watched, where like some dude is in an isekai and he has like a phone, and he was like trying to like tell the people what this phone could do to like sell it to them.
Yeah.
He's like, it can freeze time.
Yeah.
But for like only one moment, and you can only save that one moment.
Yeah.
Because he was talking about like taking a photo.
Yeah.
And like just imagine like the concept of like a photo to people like when the photos didn't exist. Like you're literally freezing time and then keeping it.
Yeah.
Like I think photos are like really valuable for like your own memory, because like at some point in life your memory will fail you.
Yeah.
And I think having these photos, having these memories like encased in something like a photo is like really valuable.
Yeah. It's kind of also like when people are like, I don't believe in photos. I'm like, I mean, you maybe you actually don't like taking photos. Part of me is just like, are you just trying to be edgy right now? Like, it's just take the photo. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, like I feel like you appreciate it a lot later down the line.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, for sure when I was young, I was just like, it was annoying. Like, you know, when you're like, your mom is like, please take like 50 photos, like as you're like trying to walk down like a random road in Hong Kong. But I think like when I got older, I was like, no, like I actually really value like taking all these photos, because like I'm not gonna go on a trip that often as I get older, maybe because I'm busy, and like I mean it's just something really special about treasuring like every moment in your life, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously some people go overboard when like they take like food photos for like with the perfect lighting for a moment, but I think at the end of the day is like photos are like a snapshot of like reality, because like memory is like, I think it's beautiful of how imperfect memory is, but it's like sometimes you need like that balance, right? You need another like, I want to say objective perspective, but you need another perspective, because like sometimes your memory will romanticize things like in a certain light that didn't actually happen, you know?
Yeah, like the other day I was getting those Snapchat memories, and like seeing the things from like 3 years ago, 4 years ago, it's like really wild to like see like your own journey. Like when you dig up these old photos, and that's like just 4 years, like the entirety of my college, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like as you get later down in life, like when it becomes spans of like decades, like just seeing where you were and where you are is like it's a really cool thing to experience.
Yeah, for sure. Like, how do you think senior year, like, do you basically feel like senior year has ended, or are you kind of just like, is still going on? It's
still going on, but it feels really like lackluster.
Yeah.
Like, this is not the senior year that I was really looking forward to. That's
like, yeah. Like, honestly, we were planning on going on the trip to Japan. The odds of that are very low right now.
Very low.
It's basically all but canceled.
Yeah.
And that really sucks, right? Because, like, you know, I haven't really gone on the trip with friends. I was going to this spring break, and then that got canceled. And then...
That was like super duper canceled.
I understood. Like, I honestly was like, I backed out before everyone else wanted to back out, because I was kind of like, you know, maybe it's not for the, maybe it's for the best, you know. And then they eventually canceled. But I think it's just like, there's a lot of things where like, maybe I'm feeling this way because I'm trying to follow a path, you know. I'm trying to fill out a checklist to be like, you know, I had a fulfilled college life, or I had a fulfilled time before I could have fun. Like, maybe all this hurts a lot because I feel like once I graduate college and I work, I can no longer have fun. I can no longer grow as a person. Like, I have to have everything figured out. So maybe the reason why people are upset that senior years feels like it's ended so quickly is because like they feel like we have a shorter deadline now, right? Mm-hmm. But it's like, I guess like as you like think about it, you know that's false, right?
Yeah.
Like, even when you graduate college at like 21, 22, like you're still a young person. Or even when you're like not quote unquote young, like no one really figures out life and like feels like they know everything, right? Like you're always learning stuff, right? Whereas like you're being a parent, or like you're just, I don't know, like a businessman or something, like you're still experiencing life in like a new lens. So it's like, I think it's like when you try to set a deadline for yourself, then yeah, like this really sucks. But I think if you like just treat it as like it is what it is, like, you know, this is considered to be the worst socioeconomic crisis since World War II, right? And I'm like, freaking World War II is like, you know, that was a pretty heavy event. So this is like being compared to that, then like, you know, like, it's not like people want things to happen, right?
Yeah.
You know, aside from like those random people who want to eat bats or some shit, it's like, even them, like, they didn't intend for this to spiral off control, right?
Yeah.
They just wanted to eat bats, you know? Like, that's each man to their own.
Yeah.
But it's not like people are, like, trying to take this away from you on purpose, you know? It's like, I guess, like, we have a physical enemy, but it's not a person, right?
Yeah.
And that's what makes the situation seem so unfair. But in a way, it is kind of like a war against disease, you know?
Like, another really interesting thing that Alex has told me before is, like, a person is not, like, an equation. Like, we were talking about this in reference to, like, applying to things, right? Like, everyone tries to do, like, for example, pre-med people try to, like, get all of the stuff, like, fill out the checklist. But, like, when you apply to something, like, it's not an equation. Like, someone is looking at you and going, like, oh, is this person, like, the whole package? Not whether they're, like, they fill out X, Y, and Z, right? In the same sense, college is not an equation. It's not a checklist that you get everything and then that equals you had fun. Yeah. No, it's like, if you had fun, you had fun.
Yeah, and it's okay if you couldn't go to one last banquet, one last party, or even if you couldn't walk, you know, like that's okay, right? Like, we still had 3.67 years of college, you know? It's not just because we didn't have that last point, 2.3
or
3.33 years left, that, like, everything's been invalidated, you know? Or we didn't have a complete package, you know? So I think that's what I've been trying to I've been learning, basically, through this quarantine. It's just that I think that first week, like last week, was pretty hard at first, because I felt entitled, you know. In the wide words of, like, this mentor in my ministry, or, like, he's like, yeah, basically, like, I had a call with him 2 days ago at the time of this recording about, like, stuff we had to plan, and then I was telling him, he was asking me, like, how things were, and I like told him, like, how I was feeling, but how I was feeling better now. He's like, that. So basically, once you decide to stop being selfish, you know, things got better, right? And, like, yeah, he was right. Like, when I stopped, you know, feeling entitled to stuff, when I stopped being like, I deserve this, you know, things became lighter, and, like, I became more at peace with stuff, right? Mm-hmm. Like, at first, like, it was really hard, like, being at home felt like I was out of prison, right? Not even because of, like, my parents were restricting me, but it just felt like I didn't know when I could, like, do what I wanted to do, or just hang out with people when I wanted to. But then once I, like, accepted that, I'm like, you know, honestly, like spending time alone is, like, not bad, you know? Like, it's nice to have, like, some time of solitude. So, yeah, I think, honestly, like, I've been even seeing some, like, silver linings or, like, positive stuff that's happening from, like, coronavirus. Like, I think the fact that, like, everyone has to be more intentional with each other now, right?
Yeah.
Like, before, like Ben, like, me and Ben have talked about this before, but it's like, I never really talked to people outside when I saw them, right? Like, and I don't really see people that often unless if, like, it's for a class or for, like, a club, like an ACM meeting. So, like, honestly, in the past, it really felt like I was alone, you know? But then now it's like, everyone kind of you have to message people, basically, to, like, stay in contact with them. So I've been, like, talking to more people now, like, and being more intentional in messaging some people now. So I feel like that's been, like, good in some way. Like, I've been able to, you know, not have anxiety messaging someone, because in the past I'd be like, oh, like, maybe he won't respond to me, you know, stuff like that. But now it's kind of like, regardless if he doesn't, like, it's the only way, you know. And even, like I see a lot of hope for, like orgs, and, like, because, like, we're, like, as of right now, like, we're trying to figure out how to make double ACM, like, virtual, and it's, like, it's really messy and weird, but it's, like, I think it's cool because, like, a lot of people are, like, really open to the idea, because that's the only way right now, right? And I think, like, that leaves a good blueprint for the future, because, like, usually in the summer, people are, like, physically isolated from each other. Like, you don't see your friends all the time, and people drift apart. But, like, now it's, like, you know, hopefully people get in the habit of, like, being intentional, like, messaging each other, like, video chatting with each other, and just doing, like, the little things. So I think in some ways, like, it's, like, I'm not glad the pandemic has happened, but I am glad that people like, some positive things are happening out of it. Yeah.
to shift gears, because this is something I've been wanting to talk about. So I watched like an anime series. It's like a spin-off of a show called Madoka Magica, and it was like a very like linchpin show for magical girl shows, because it basically turned the genre on its head, and they're like, what if we took this like really bright, colorful sort of genre that's like very wholesome and not like very like, that's basically all it is. It's just like bright, colorful, and very like surface level.
Mm-hmm.
What if we like pierced the surface and like made it very deep and like, you know, thought provoking and just like very like hard to watch, and that like turned the whole genre on its head, because now all magical girl shows that come out are basically like this edgy like reincarnation of a magical girl show, as opposed to just being a normal magical girl show.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a spin-off series that like talks about like another set of characters, and a specific episode happened, and I was like very interested in like a specific interaction, because there's this one girl, she's like very, very like, I guess she's like prone to anger. That's just like how she is, right?
Yeah.
And there's another girl that she's friends with that is like very like, she's always very bubbly, but then she's easily hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening is like the girl who's prone to anger like gets mad at her all the time, and they're always like, you know what, let's just stop being friends.
Yeah.
And the end result is like the girl who's happy all the time like always comes back first, and she's always like, oh, I'm so sorry, like it was my fault, like let's always be friends.
Yeah.
And then so at one point like the girl who gets mad a lot is like, no, like you aren't sorry, like let's not like do this. It's like, can you imagine how I feel? And I was like thinking about it, it's like it like suddenly popped into my head. Do you think like the apologer burdens the person being apologized to? It's like it puts them in like a situation where they have to accept the apology or they look like the bad guy.
Yeah.
And like, because the girl always felt like she was getting wronged.
Mm-hmm.
Like the one that was prone to anger, she always felt like she was getting wronged by the girl who's always happy, because she's like always bubbly, always friendly, and so people would always take her side. Yeah. And so she felt like the girl, whenever she apologized, would turn like the momentum against her and make her look like the bad person. When in reality, she's like, I feel like I'm on, like we're in the same level of blame, you know? It's like, it's not my fault she wants to apologize to me.
Yeah.
It's like, why is this, like, why am I painted as the bad guy?
Because kind of just like the act of apology makes you seem like a more reasonable person. Like, it almost paints this picture of like, oh, she's always apologizing, so she's like aware of like her faults. But this person who's like being apologized to, they haven't done anything about it. It makes them look bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I've honestly never really thought about it before until you brought it up. But I think that is pretty interesting. Like, the whole idea of, like, it kind of goes back to, like, your words. Every word you say has meaning, you know?
Yeah.
Even if something does not explicitly have meaning, like, that's, like, a kind of, like, meaning of in of
There's,
itself.
like, a subtext.
Like, yeah, it's kind of like, if there's, like, if you can use negative space in, like, painting art or something, like, it's kind of like, yeah, there's, like, this, the lack of a word is kind of, like, negative words, I guess. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, like, yeah, it's like there's that subtext where there's like that subtext where like it means like no vote is a vote, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's interesting. It kind of makes me think about like, because in Japanese culture they apologize a lot, right?
Yeah. And I was gonna bring that up, is like not just Japanese culture, but like Eastern culture generally. Like I can even see in like our daily lives, because we've sort of grown up in like an Eastern influence. Is it like whenever something goes wrong, no matter if it was our fault or not, we instinctively decide to apologize.
Oh, I have a personal example actually. So, there was this time where, last year, a friend from church was like, "Hey, can you help this other guy from our church stay at your place in Austin, because he wants to visit UT, for like the swimming championships or something like that." And then, me being super passive and wanting to be nice, I said yeah, but I don't really know this guy that well, and Ben obviously doesn't know this guy at all, you know. So I met this guy like once before, and also he didn't really want to ask me because he didn't know me that well, right? But I was like, okay, fine, like I'll ask Ben. Ben was like, yeah, sure, because in our minds the idea was this guy would just stay in our house for like to sleep, basically.
Yeah, like we thought he'd be out and about all the time and only come back to sleep and shower.
Yeah, but then it was kind of complicated. Like, I remember like, okay, honestly, we were super accommodating of the whole situation, but he had hired he didn't explicitly demand this, but like basically like he just stayed at her apartment like all day. He was in her apartment more than we were that weekend.
And it was really like a lot of our friends were like, "Yo, you shouldn't do that. Like, he's virtually a stranger to your guys. Like, you shouldn't have someone that like you don't know at all in your apartment when you're not there."
Yeah. And like I just remember like even the whole process he was kind of needy to like process of moving in to our apartment. Like I wasn't able to like I was working on a group project when he wanted to come in, and I was kind of like, hey, like I'm sorry, but like I need to be here on campus. And I remember I just kept him apologizing for like not being able to be there so he could move in at his convenience. And to the point is like, stop saying sorry, like, you're good, like you're doing me a favor, right? And I realized like that's kind of an example of this scenario where like I kept on saying sorry, but I didn't mean it, right? Honestly, in my head I was kind of like, this guy, I'm just saying sorry so like people can't put the blame on me, you know? Like I'm trying to be like that like black and white scenario where like I was 100% in the right and this guy was 100% in the wrong. So like I'm saying sorry to make myself like I didn't think like this in the moment. Like this was all subconscious, but looking back, I was like,
yeah, like you burdened the person being apologized to.
Yeah, like I basically made it seem like I was unable to fulfill this task that was required of me. In reality, it wasn't required of me at all, right? Like I didn't need to say sorry, and he would have understood, right? But now saying sorry made it sound like I'm making him look like the bad guy by burdening me with something. In reality, I was burdening him, right?
Yeah.
So I think like that is an example. Like I realize a lot of times in life I say sorry a lot, even if I don't mean it. Mainly because like I just want to like be like, oh, like don't expect stuff out of me, when maybe even the other person was like that wasn't even on their mind. So I don't know. I think that's something like only really in Eastern culture would really maybe be primarily relevant in, right?
Yeah. I guess that's why it popped up in anime and not like some TV show or something.
And that's probably also why we never really thought about before, but we have dealt with it before because like our parents are from Asia or Southeast Asia, like so yeah, that's pretty interesting. Speaking of another anime, I finally watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, which is a classic anime from the 90s.
It's like a titular mecha anime.
Yeah, it's like... So basically the gist of the story is... it's like an apocalyptic mecha anime where like these aliens, they call angels, are like coming to Earth and they're destroying everything.
Wait, there's a lot of biblical references.
There's a lot of biblical references. Like a lot of...
angels or something.
A lot of like Gnosticism references. Which is like super symbolic and like it's really up to the audience to interpret it. But like a 2-second summary is basically mechas trying to fight aliens that have a lot of symbolic references to Christianity, and they basically try to save the day. And like for the first like 15 episodes, it's like kind of monster of the week where it's just like alien pops like or like so like the main characters are like these like middle school kids who are like testing these like robots. And they're basically like they don't really know what they're doing. Like they just test it, and then like there's like these scientists that support them. So then basically it's just like they go to the facility, they get tested, something goes wrong, an alien comes, which is a surprise because the first two aliens like the first alien came like prehistoric times. The second alien came like 15 years prior to the series starting. And after that, there's like an alien every single episode. And then kind of just like alien comes, it's a surprise, they save the day, they return. And it's kind of like, I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but it's just like how is this dark, Because like the series is known for the main character being like super whiny. He always goes like, I can't run away.
Like,
He has like super low self-esteem. He's like depressed. Everyone in the series is depressed.
Oh yeah, that too.
Everyone's traumatized by something. And you only see this like starting later on in the series when like some stuff happens.
Like I feel like the first spoiler warning. I feel like the first turning point is when they try to like make a fourth one, right?
Yeah.
And then that dude like goes berserk and you have to kill him.
Yeah, or like his mecha goes berserk because like this is kind of a spoiler, but their mechas are actually like living. They're
made out of the aliens.
They're made out of the aliens, so like they're not just robots. So that's why they have to like do like these tests to like test like the sync. They have to test like how well they sync with each other.
Yeah.
But basically, it goes out of control, and then like basically like there's a way to trick the control like robots by putting like this dummy pilot basically to pretend like there's a person inside, but it's just like a program. And then basically that program like goes berserk and like almost kills like the fourth child, which is like a friend of the main character. And then basically he's like, I'm out of here. And then basically he kind of quits, but then like when he quits, there's like drastic effects. Like the people almost die.
Wait, didn't they think that instead of the dummy in there, it was him?
He was in there, but he couldn't control it. Like they overrid.
Oh.
They overrid his control by pretending that he was ejected and that they put a dummy in there. But it was really just a program. Yeah. So then basically he quits, and then like an alien comes when he quits, and then basically his other two pilots get like kind of wrecked. And then he has to come save the day. But then one of the other pilots has like a super big ego, and then she's like super hurt by that. And then basically she kind of spirals out of control. And then it's a long time. Like, I don't want to go into it, but basically, like, every character has an insecurity and trauma behind their personality. And I think everyone except for the main character kind of, like, puts a front, you know, or, like, they're secure. So it's kind of interesting, like, reading that because, like, basically the whole series is, like, each person's trying to fight depression. Like, it's like everyone seems so whiny. But then the last two episodes are, like, it's
like mind fucky.
It's so, like, abstract and, like... Honestly, like, the plot just, like, basically it goes from him being like, yeah, I defeated the last alien to him just, like, thinking. He's like imagining this whole scenario where it's like, he's like, why do I pilot this mecha, you know? It's like a recurring question. And basically the plot goes out the window. He's just, like, sitting there, like, thinking. At the end, it's like a kind of optimistic. He's like, you know what? I think everyone hates me. But in reality, like, that's just my assumption, you know?
Wait, didn't he cause third impact before he went to go think about shit?
I think that was... Wait, that's in the... No, that's during the movie, I think.
No, I thought it's still, like, third impact is because, like, the catalyst for third impact
you're right.
is when his robot eats an angel, the core.
Oh, yeah, you're right. I think he started the impact, and that kicked in the instrumentality.
And
shit.
that's
and
why
that's,
he was
that's
able
why
to
That's
think.
why he was thinking. It's just not super clear in the end.
Yeah, because, like, in the movie, you don't know this, but, like...
Yeah.
Like, basically, third impact happens. They show you what happens during third impact.
Yeah.
And then instrumentality is, like, everyone turns into, like, one, like...
One conscious, right?
Yeah, one conscious. So it's like you can't misunderstand people. Like, that's the point behind instrumentality, is that, like, everyone is under one pretense, and you cannot misunderstand, like why, like, you know, like, people have misunderstandings all the time, right? And the reason is because you can't know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
Instrumentality seeks to, like, destroy that barrier, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, Shinji is, like, thinking all of that shit while instrumentality happens.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah.
And then, like, the thing is, like, all those people, like his thoughts aren't, like, their thoughts are basically public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember there's some interesting idea that popped up, was like, this is the me in my mind, and this is the me in, like, this other character's mind. But they're all true, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they are all facets of yourself. Like, that's interesting, because, like, sometimes people are like, oh, like, this person's so fake because he projects this persona. But in reality, that is a true part of themselves, because the fact that they need to project that persona says something about them, you know? And say something that, like, hey, this fake persona is what they think is an ideal that they're willing to present to the public. So in reality, that is part of their values, and it is part of them, you know? So I thought that was super interesting.
Yeah.
And, like, while the last two episodes, like, honestly, like, it's not super, like, you kind of know some shit has happened because he ate the angel, but, like, you don't really understand, like, what's going on.
Yeah.
But I think at the end, it's like, I kind of like the message that the last two episodes were saying, because, like, while it seemed kind of jarring, it's like, I'm not trying to make light of depression or mental health issues, but it's kind of like, you need to want to be helped, you know? Like, you need to want to move forward and, like, kind of accept, like, your insecurities and accept your whatever's going on to, you know, move forward as a person, right? And, like, there's definitely going to be struggles, and, like, you're going to have a lot of ups and downs in your life, for sure. And just because you want to be happy, you're not necessarily going to be happy. But there is one thing for sure, is, like, if you think life sucks, like it will suck, right?
Yes.
Like if you think you're a loser, you will be a loser. So I think that's ultimately the gist of what those two episodes were trying to say is like Shinji, or like the main character of that series, like always thought that like he was a loser and like nobody liked him, but that became a self-fulfilling, like it wasn't even like true necessarily, but like because of that, it got self-fulfilled because he isolated himself, right? And I think at the end of the day is like yes, just because you think you're a winner doesn't mean you are a winner. Just because you want to be happy doesn't mean you will be happy. But if you do think the inverse, like that will be true. Like if you think life will be sad and sucks, and it will, right? Like I was like, there's like a really good quote, but it's like you can have fun on rainy days as well, you know?
Oh.
And I was like, like that's true, like just because there's a big thing is like there's like this like other theme where it's like Shinji's always running away from stuff. Like what's wrong with that? Why can't I just take the pleasant things of life and just be happy with that? Like what's wrong with running away from unpleasant things? But like I think a big thing is like just like the way life is, you're not going to always experience pleasant things. You're not always going to get the things what you want in life. So making the most of what you're dealt with is like the most like well-rounded scenario, and even then it's like sadness is like what makes happiness meaningful. Sadness is like what makes you even aware that there are problems. Mm-hmm. Like it's good to be sad sometimes because like you're aware that like something shouldn't be the way it is.
Yeah.
Kind of like what like Inside Out was talking about.
Like one really interesting thing is that, so the difference between the movie ending and the show ending, even though they are animated so drastically different, the only difference is that in the series, Shinji gave into instrumentality. Yeah. And that's why that whole sequence of the last two episodes happened. That is like him in instrumentality. Yeah. And in the movie, he rejects instrumentality. Yeah. And he like comes out of the orange like soup shit. Yeah. And like LCL. And so like what's really interesting is that like I wonder how like it would actually go in real life. Like if you were given that choice, like would you like choose instrumentality or not?
I don't know. Because something I was thinking about was like, because like I think a big thing for people is like this is just a delusion, like it's not actually happening. But at the same time, I was thinking about like, is that really important in the context of the series? Because the context of the series, like he's able to move forward with his life, and like sometimes like I think it's interesting because like another theme in the series is like reality is kind of just what you make this mistake that you think reality is truth when reality is really what you perceive to be as your truth, So there are many. It's like kind of the concept. There are many truths out there, but there's only one truth for you. And I was like, interesting, because like I think we always like maybe kind of in the context of like the society we live in, but we're kind of like reality is objective, right? Like it's neutral, right? When like maybe like in reality it's not, yeah, like because in order to like observe reality, we have to perceive it, which is from like our experiences and memories. So in that case, like there's not necessarily a neutral reality. So I thought that was pretty interesting as well. So it's definitely a series that makes you think a lot,
I think another thing is like you have to be primed. Like if you just watch this on your own, the last two episodes mean nothing to you. Like when I first watched it, the last two episodes, like I derive no meaning from it. Yeah. But like you have to be primed in a certain way, otherwise it's hard to understand.
Yeah, like something like the director even says like he made that movie because like a lot of fans were like pissed because they're just like this ending makes no sense, or like they wanted like a badass cool ending where Shinji like beats the shit out of like an angel and he's like a Chad, he's like a Chad with like his harem, but like he's like honestly like I don't want a non-anime fan to watch this movie because like the movie is like it's not as optimistic, it's like a lot more sad and depressing, but basically he's kind of just like if you're a normal person that goes out of your house and like interacts with people, you don't need to watch this movie because like you're not gonna learn anything from it. But it's like I want these otakus to watch it because they think the world's against them. They're like they don't want to interact with people anymore.
Dude, this is like welcome to the NHK.
Yeah, and then he's basically just like you need to interact with people to like move on and grow as a person. Like you can't just you can't just hide from them just because like they said some mean things to you before, you know.
And that's like the thing is like about instrumentality is like if you like actively participate in society, you shouldn't need it because like misunderstanding should give meaning to your life.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be the reason why you run away from it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's interesting because like there's a lot of, I think like people have kind of like reused this plot before, like in Naruto. They're trying to like when Obito is trying to make that dream world where he's just like
the infinite Suki.
It's kind of similar to instrumentality in that like everyone's happy, you know.
It's similar.
It's not. It's like it's pretty different that like people aren't connected.
Because like the idea behind instrumentality is breaking down the barrier.
Yeah, but the idea behind this dream world is just like it's a perfect illusion, right? But people are like it's not reality, you know. So we have to stop this. And it was just like valid, but I think it's interesting because like. It kind of like plays into this mindset of like things have to be real to have value, and I don't know. Part of me is kind of just like, you know, just because you can't like hold it, like feel it, it's not like a 3D object or something, like doesn't mean like those ideals or memories are like invalid, you know. So that's just something that has got me thinking, and we have a lot of time to think because we're in quarantine. But yeah, kind of wrapping things up because I think we're going a little over.
Wait. Would you participate in instrumentality or no?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. If there was a... See, I think that's like one of those things like you can't... I don't even think I really have a concept of instrumentality, really, you know? Like yes, there's like the example in the TV show.
Yeah.
But it's like... I think that's literally asking you to give up what you know as the human experience and achieve something else, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is hard to say, you know? Because I think right now I'm still in that mentality where, like, I want to be able to understand what I'm getting into before I go into it. When I think instrumentality is, like, you need to give that up before and still think that what we're promising you is good, you know?
What's really interesting is that the people who are, like, pushing for it so hard had no concept of it either.
Yeah.
They're just like, this is good. It must be good.
Yeah. I think to me it's actually kind of like the idea of the afterlife.
Yeah.
Because I think for a lot of people, like, the idea of living forever is pretty nice. But honestly, to me, the idea of living forever is a little terrifying because I have no concept of that, you know? To me, it's a little bit like you have like a roll of film that just continues to go on forever and ever. Like you said this before, like having an end is beautiful, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's why I don't like immortality.
To me, I don't necessarily think that. I just think having an end is understandable, you know? Like, I don't know if I necessarily want an end either, but I think it's also because, like, I can't comprehend what the end means, right? All I can comprehend is, like, an eternal blackness, which is a little scary. But, like, to me, like, I'm not, like, opposed to the idea of the afterlife, but it is a little scary because, like, you can't comprehend it. It makes your head kind of woozy when you think about it, you know? But I think for them, it's something like, if I were to be in the afterlife, like how I perceive things would be different, you know? And I kind of think that applies to this idea of instrumentality as well, where it's like I don't think, like, if there was an afterlife, like if you went to heaven or hell, like I don't think it would be like this, but forever. Like I'm not gonna say it's like instrumentality, but like your consciousness would be different, you know?
Yeah, I feel like you would just be in eternal, like, peace or suffering. It's not like you would... I don't even feel like you would have a physical body. Like, I just feel like you would...
Yeah, like, I don't even think, like, you would... I don't even know if you would think. Or I don't even know if you would think, like, this way, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's different, you know? It's kind of like when people talk about the idea of God, like, okay, I guess I personally don't think God is just, like, a humanoid... Like, I don't think he's, like, Zeus or something sitting up there, you know? Like, that's just my personal opinion. But
you think Jesus is worse than Odin?
Shut up. He's referencing Vinland Saga. He's not actually saying that to our Christian friends out there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But so I guess, like, my point is just like, I guess maybe I would participate because, like, but I think it would take me a while to get into that stage, right?
Yeah.
Because I guess, like, even for me right now, like, even as a Christian who, like, I guess believes in, like, the idea of heaven, like, that's, even though if I believe in it, it's still kind of scary to me, right? And I think that's something that, like, isn't talked about much because it's just an assumption that, like, oh, like, like, oh, I think like the afterlife would be just like this, but forever. Like I can be free of the pain or be free of like death. When I feel like it would be a completely different experience, you know, and like I think that is a little scary because I don't understand it. But I'm not saying like that's bad, you know.
Yeah.
So I think for the same thing with instrumentality is like I don't understand it. I'm not gonna be like me, but I think that's the whole point, you know.
Yeah.
So I think once I accept that, I think maybe I would, but I don't know if I want to do it forever, you know.
But the thing is, like, it's irreversible.
It's irreversible, yeah.
Yeah. You either choose it or you don't.
Okay. I think.
So, like, that's even weirder, is that, like, if you choose it, you can't go back.
Yeah.
But, like, if you don't choose it, you'll live with regret that you never chose it. Or, like, that you would never get to experience
I think it's hard. And I think that's just, like, a lot of things in life where it's just, like, there's pros and cons to every decision. Like, part of me is kind of like, I think something about misunderstandings is, like, it's proof that humans are individualistic, right? We have our own unique fingerprint, you know, or footprint. But I guess if you get rid of misunderstandings, like, you're not unique anymore, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, okay, honestly, I can't really walk out of this discussion with an answer now, but I think it's like, it depends on your values. Like, do you want to understand everyone and be at peace with everyone, which is like, I think that's definitely a good value to have, or do you want to maintain like what makes you special and kind of, you know, live your individual life? Like, it's kind of like, I think it's interesting that this was written from like an Eastern perspective, because like they're supposedly really big on like community and like the collective, right?
I mean, to be fair, in the movie, everyone chooses to be instrumentality
except Shinji.
Except Shinji and Asuka.
Yeah. So
technically everyone did do that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think, you know, like we can talk about this on further episodes, but like I think I like the idea of being different and special.
Same.
But I recognize the benefits of being something as a whole, like being a part of a greater whole, which would be nice. But I honestly, maybe I'll never be at the point where I can make a coffin decision one way or another. But yeah, I think I would not opt in right now because I just can't reach the point where like I can understand it and be okay with it, you know.
I mean, I believe something similar. Like, I feel like it's the human experience is it exists simply because of these barriers.
Yeah.
Like, the human experience would be so vastly different if you could understand everyone.
Yeah.
Like, there would, like, for example, a lot of people like hate on like the game, like whenever you're trying to like pursue a romantic interest, and then you like, it's like not texting back immediately, or like playing all these dumb things, trying to read signals, read in between the lines, look at the subtext. And like, yes, the game is interesting, and that's like part of the human experience, right? And something like that would never exist in an instrumentality like world.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, you couldn't even pursue someone physically.
Yeah. Like, I don't even think there would be romantic love in that context, right?
Oh yeah, you're right.
In instrumentality. Like, I know in like
everyone would be your friend.
I know in like kind of like from like what like Christianity talks about heaven, like there's no such thing as like marriage or husband and wife. Like you're just there, you know?
Yeah.
And like, so kind of like knowing that, like I would kind of imagine that instrumentality is like not like that, you know?
Yeah.
Would like not, that we wouldn't have, I don't even know if we would have friends, right?
I don't even know if you had desires.
Like we just like we would be we, there is no I, basically. So I think that's kind of like, I don't want to sound like I'm quoting like Ayn Rand or some shit, but like that's not what I'm trying to do, but it's just kind of like, yeah, I guess how much do you value your individual, do you appreciate life, the good stuff about life enough to like the point that you don't want to participate in instrumentality, or do you think life is flawed, that like it's better we just go into this utopian understanding, right? So yeah, I guess as of right now, maybe because like I'm tired of being pessimistic about everything, I think I would still try to stay in this life, you know.
Same.
But I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll change my mind when I get older. But yeah, as of right now, I guess not.
Dude, when he gets older and he decides to choose instrumentality, he's gonna like try to make it happen.
Yeah. he's like, yeah, I'm like, when I get older for like, when I'm like working at a job for like 15 years, he's just like, yeah, fuck it.
He like quits and then he like disappears off the face of the earth and then he like tries to like make everyone into LCO.
Oh no. Yeah. But yeah, that was a interesting talk.
It was a good one.
Yeah, this is the type of talks you have, type of thoughts you have. Like basically, because of the pandemic, every minute is a shower thought.
Yeah.
Every thought is a shower thought.
So basically, to reiterate, stay away from people, social distance, wash your hands, practice safe procedures, be responsible.
Yeah, do that. And follow that so we don't get in trouble. This is a sponsored tagline by
CDC.
By CDC. They're paying us $0. But yeah. Just wrapping up. Actually wrapping up now. This is Nuanced Nonsense. We're not experts. We just like talking. So if you disagree with like everything we said in this video, focus on the nonsense part,
Feel free to shoot us a DM.
Feel free to shoot us a DM. Send us an angry text. But if you know us, you probably do, or else you're not watching this video. But just thank you for listening. We'll be back at some point. No promises as to when, but yeah, we look forward to more of these random talks, especially in this time of crisis. But yeah, signing out.